Hello everybody, this is weekend now and time for getting more analytical, away from the din of the markets. In this show, Under the Lens, I go deeper into some important issues that investors face. The idea is for you to get an in-depth knowledge of the same headlines and stories that you have been reading right through the week. What we are going to be discussing today is something every viewer will relate to: business channels and stock markets. There is no doubt that the Indian business media has grown leaps and bounds last 10 years and has a huge presence in the Indian television and in the stock market. To discuss all this, we have with us in our studios Mr. Chetan Sharma, a Delhi-based media consultant with over 15 years of experience in television and a familiar face on business channels. Thanks for coming over, Chetan.
Thanks for having me, Pia.
India has had a huge television revolution last few years, and today there are TVs in every home. The business channels have also grown in number and reach, and today they are a significant component of the visual media. Nobody can doubt that they have contributed significantly to the development of the Indian stock market. However, they are either idolized or pillarized, depending on whether on that particular day one agrees with them or not. But one thing, they can never be ignored. What is their influence? Can business channels be influenced? Are they in a way any different from current affairs media? These are some of the more important and interesting issues that we'll discuss with Chetan. So sit back, guys, put your feet up and enjoy the show. Remember that as always, we have your section where you raise the questions which I will deal with. All that you need to do is to email your questions to underthelens@utvmoney.com. Chetan, yes. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
First question or first statement. I think you're the only guy who does both Hindi and English television so well. So I'm going to ask you a question related to that.
Right.
We have the Hindi business channels and the English business channels. Could you just compare them in terms of influence, reach, etc., just off the cuff?
First, I think there's a bit of a correction that needs to be done. There's nothing called a Hindi business channel because all so-called Hindi business channels are actually English channels. I think it's more of a English channel. It's a different media. It's the way things are addressed, the way things are treated.
Does it address different segments of the Indian population, or it's a very homogeneous?
That's the biggest myth that normally what the perception is that the English channel is for the classes and the Hindi channel is for the masses, or the English channel is for the metros and the Hindi channel is for the towns, which is completely incorrect.
That's incorrect, is it?
It's completely incorrect because if you benchmark it via the TRPs, the Hindi channels do equally well, if not better, in the metros. So there is something to put that argument
aside. So there are
aside.
certain misconceptions that because English is spoken more.
There is. Okay. And in terms of masses and classes, it's anyway erroneous to assume that only masses exist in the towns, or that only classes exist in
Absolutely.
the cities.
I mean, I think that's only a very childish way of looking at it.
Exactly. But yes, what you can say is that typically what is called the cow belt, which is the Hindi-speaking belt, would definitely have a greater affinity to the Hindi channels. Let's say the channels down south would give a preference to the English channel, not because of the substance spoken, but purely because of
familiarity with that.
That's right.
Okay, quickly switching on to another subject. The influence that business channels have on stock markets. Sometimes I think we talked about it before. The perception is that they influence the stock market considerably.
Yes.
As a person who's been in this line so long, do you tend to agree with that? Do they have a major effect, or?
Certainly, if I didn't, I guess we wouldn't be talking about it. It's obviously very important.
No, it's very different. Let's say from current affairs channel, for example, what's happening doesn't have an immediate effect on the money. What's going on in that?
More than that, I think
no, not on what on the thing on people's thinking. what I'm saying is, if the channel keeps saying something, do people's investment actions get dependent on that?
Certainly.
Is there a, almost like say brainwashing that's happening there?
I wouldn't use the term brainwashing necessarily. It could be erroneous. It could be a premature reaction. It could be a source information which has not been clarified, which of course is entirely irresponsible. But these things happen because everybody wants to break news first.
This is another sensitive subject. I often talk to my media friends about it, and you know, you have all this breaking news, which of course is, considering there are so many of them, it's competitive and you want to be first off the, and each channel is quite proud that it brings in a breaking news first. But isn't there any checking that goes on before news is broken, considering the financial impact of it? Are you bound to do that, or are you just, you know,
well,
just done?
Well, there's nothing mandatory. If you're talking about rules and regulations, this is all self-imposed. But breaking news often in business parlance is called that news that actually breaks your wallet, because you're not very immediately aware whether that news is right. And the exuberance of just breaking that news.
So what is saying, in effect, if I understand, a breaking news that comes on any channel has not been really put through any veracity test or any truth test at all?
Not immediately. Not immediately.
I mean, once it's broken, it's out.
You see, there are various times which you would have seen over the years, and you yourself have been in electronic media for a while, that news is first released and then it's withdrawn. And that's not necessarily because the news was wrong. It could be that the source was incorrect. It could be that the person who was,
Do you think this
who was
should be
divulging...
changed? Do you think this needs to be changed?
Let me just finish. The person who was first divulging the news may now retract it because of any political pressure. And then that news may come out again as a verification a couple of days later, which means the news wasn't wrong, it was just leaked or broken. So it's, you know, it's a bit of an action which is taken, which doesn't necessarily have to be
okay, let me put you on the dock a little bit. Okay, yeah. If you are the person, the powers that be, and could write a line and everybody will follow, would you continue to allow breaking news to come without it being actually verified?
I certainly wouldn't. And the reason for that is I strongly believe that no channel is watched because of breaking news. I think every channel is watched because of authentic news.
Friends, I hope you found this session enjoyable and informative too. We need to go for a short break. Please don't go away. Chetan Sharma is still with us, and we'll be putting under the lens another important issue related to business and stock markets. The proposal to certify and regulate investment advisors who come on the stock market channels. Remember that as always, we'll have your section 2 where you raise the questions, where we'll try and deal with them. All that you need to do is to email your questions to underthelens@utvmoney.com.